The point of this episode is to provide a guide, and this guide is there to empower you to live your best life if you find yourself in my shoes or many others. 1 billion people on this planet are disabled. We are out there, and society continues to not do a good job of teaching how to navigate and how to deal with us. So this is my piece of giving into the community and the world at large. Just know that you pretty much can do whatever, especially nowadays with technology, when you have a disability. You can take care of yourself, have a job, a normal life, whatever that looks like when you have a disability. It is very possible, but know that this journey is more challenging. It is harder. It will be stressful. It will be trying. I am not going to pretend that it's not. It is.
So money is all I think of. Money on my mind, 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 so money is all I think of.
All right. Money is on my mind indeed. Yes, everybody. This is your boy, Darrin Harvey, a.k.a. Money. Wow. I'm about to call myself Money Bags. This is Darrin Harvey, a.k.a. Blindy McFly, a.k.a. the Money Counselor. And this is Financial State of Minds, the show where I help you get to that bag, manage that bag, and grow that bag as best as possible as we discuss financial literacy and all things related to the power of the dollar. And this is being hosted, broadcasted, and streamed on KGPC 96.9 FM, KGPC969.org. And this is going to be on all your favorite streaming platforms of choice. It's everywhere. So thank you for tuning in, whether this is your first episode or this is your 15th episode you've checked it out. I appreciate everybody who's giving old Blindy a listening ear. So on today's episode, what are we talking about? This episode is going to be what to do when you become disabled. So why am I talking about this episode? I'm talking about this episode because I want to share my experience of how to navigate becoming disabled. And most importantly, I want to create a one-stop episode where someone can listen to, whether they're able-bodied or whether they're not able-bodied, and they know exactly how to prepare for an event that would cause them to become disabled and learn how to navigate being disabled. Because, listeners, if you don't know, there really isn't no one-stop shop, or there's no single place that you go to or you get referred to automatically once you get a disability, at least not for blindness. So obviously that's my disability. For those who this is your first time tuning in to me, I am legally blind. I have glaucoma. I have less than 10% of my vision in my right eye, of my central vision. My left eye is completely blind. My right eye has, we'll probably say 5 to 7% central vision. I am 20 over 2,700, I believe, when it comes to my prescription. I am 20 over 480 when it comes to my sight being a literal meter away. What does that mean? It means that in layman's terms, listener, when I stick my hand out like this, it gets blurry. My hand's blurry. Yes, it's blurry. So that's as far as I can see with any clarity. I can see stuff a bit further, maybe past the table where the light is, where the camera is recording me right now. But we're talking barely, and that's with I can't at all with my glasses off, but I can see something's there. I can't make out that's a camera. I'm looking at it right now. Hopefully I'm pointing at you correctly, but that would be funny if I'm not pointing. But that's my disability. I was legally diagnosed of blindness in 2017. So again, I was legally blind starting in 2017, but I've been diagnosed with glaucoma since 2014. So I've had it now for 11 plus years, and it's just been slowly chipping away at my vision. So that's my disability. When I became legally blind in 2017, my doctor diagnosed me and was like, all right, that's it. Sent me on my way. I did not know. I did not have a guide. I did not have really anybody at that time who can tell me where to go, what to do, who to talk to, what companies or resources to look for, where to look for them. I had none of that. So this episode is all that knowledge that I can compact into a hour-long episode, because I really feel for people who don't have it. I still don't believe, or it flabbergasts me, that across the board, all doctors should just be like, you go to A, B, C, D. That's how I feel. But since the doctors are not doing that consistently, I'm going to do that for the listeners right now. So, all right, what do you do, Darrin? So before you get diagnosed, I'm going to talk about all the stuff you can do to prepare yourself just in case you find yourself in my shoes of being the best blind guy you've ever met. I'm just playing. But you find yourself in my shoes of being blind or any other disability. I'm mainly focusing on physical disabilities. Mental disabilities, I understand, are definitely a real thing, but that's a different ballpark that we're not going to get too much into. Okay, so preparing for a day where you become disabled. You want to first do the stuff that I've preached about endless amount of times on this show. You want to make sure that you have a good credit profile, the highest credit score you possibly can, and you want to make sure that you have a 6 months savings fund, or AKA an emergency fund. You want at least 6 months. If you can have more, even better. But you want to have 6 months. And you want to have as much access to money as possible. So the more credit lines you have available open that are free and clear, the better. But the most important thing is just to have good credit and to have that 6 months emergency fund saved up. The second set of things you can do is to buy insurance. So look into insurance and buy any insurance that you can essentially kick into or take from once you become disabled. And there's different ones. There's short-term disability insurance that you can buy. There's long-term disability insurance. There's permanent. There's accidental. There's all different types of stuff. If you just have a normal life insurance policy that comes with living benefits, you also could potentially use those living benefits to help pay for stuff when you're disabled. But basically, insurance. Look into them. Whichever one makes sense for you. If you can afford all of them, get them all. Especially if you're young, these insurances don't cost a lot of money. And especially if your employer offers it, take it and just pay it. If you can afford it, pay it. I remember at my last employer, I think I had like accidental insurance and all these insurances, and they all combined for like not even $100 or $200. And I had 3 different insurances. And of course that lasts as long as you're with the employer. But if you're self-employed or maybe your employer doesn't offer it, every insurance you can think of basically offers it. Every insurance that probably offers life insurance offers it, but most insurance places, they offer it. So just look into it, or you can feel free to DM me. I have a life insurance policy. The life insurance policy gives me life benefits, so if I really needed to, I can kick into that. But that's what I would recommend. 1, make sure you have the emergency savings and your credit is good. And 2, make sure you have some type of insurance to protect you. 3, have at least your healthcare directive and your financial power of attorney. For those who don't know, the healthcare directive is a document that empowers somebody to make health-related decisions in the event that you're no longer able to make sound and cognitive decisions on your behalf regarding your health. This is in a situation where you are hospitalized and maybe something really bad happened to you, something really traumatic or terrible happened to you, and you're just knocked out. You're cold, you can't be responsive, or you basically can't make decisions. You're going to want to have somebody there that you trust make those decisions for you. And of course, the document is going to guide them 100% on how to do that. You also want to have the financial power of attorney document that essentially does the exact same thing, but just for your money. You're going to want to be able to make sure that somebody with your best interests can manage your money if you're out lights out for a hot moment while you're lied up in the hospital in the bed, and then eventually working your way and navigating the new disability that you may find yourself in. So you want to have these documents at least. Of course, you want to have your will and trust, but you really only need those if you die, and that's not something we're really discussing right now. At least healthcare directive, power of attorney. So you have these documents, you have your insurances, you have your savings. Now, why do I talk about preparation? Why is it so important? I want to make this clear to people. Most people who find themselves disabled, it was like me. You were able-bodied, you were completely healthy, something happened, whether it was your genetics, whether it was an accident, whether it's a medical situation, a work situation, it doesn't matter. There was an event that triggered the disability. That is how the overwhelming majority of people become disabled, period. It's overwhelmingly that. The small minority of all people who are disabled are actually born disabled. The overwhelming of them become disabled over time. So you want to take this opportunity that if you are able-bodied, do these things. It really doesn't cost a lot of money to be able to do all these things. If you did everything that I just said, minus the savings and the good credit, you're talking about an extra couple $100 a month for your insurances. And those documents, you can literally at this point probably create good enough versions on ChatGPT, or you can buy templates for maybe 50, 60, 70 bucks around there from a website, and you can create those documents yourself. If you're balling out of control and you're just too lazy or you just don't got time, you can go hire a specialist or an attorney to do that, but you don't need to. You can just do it yourself. They're pretty simple documents to fill out. Okay, so these are the things you do in order to prepare for that day that you become disabled. All right, now we're going to talk about what to do the moment you find out that you're disabled, or the moment you have an inkling you're going to be disabled. So obviously, you're going to need to be diagnosed. So I'll tell you guys, I was seeing my glaucoma specialist regularly. So when I got to a certain vision level, I became officially legally blind, and I got a document to support that, and I was left on my own. That was my experience. Eventually, years later, I want to say around 2020, I joined a Facebook group called Bay Area Blind Community, something like that. And that was my first community that I joined that was with disabled people or focused on disabled people. And I met some people there. I attended some meetings, and that's when I started learning about what to do. Now, keep in mind, between 2017 and 2020, I was looking for resources, and I couldn't find much in my area, especially for my situation. There are resources, obviously, like SNAP, food stamps, but those are all low income. So that's just if you're low income. Specifically, if you become disabled, all I knew about was paratransit, but paratransit is not ideal for any situation where you need to be there on time direct. So that's really all I found. So when I found the online group, I learned about the Lighthouse of the Blind in San Francisco and the Department of Rehab or Rehabilitation, which is a government facility. So what are these two places? The Lighthouse of the Blind is the Bay Area's premier nonprofit that provides services, education, and assistance for blind people. And then the Department of Rehabilitation is the government agency where they essentially have this mission where they want to help blind people or any disabled people for that matter get and retain their jobs. That's what the point of the DOR or the Department of Rehabilitation. It is to help you get a job and retain that job. And they help you by buying you equipment, whether it's hardware or software, and they help you by connecting you to different resources. And they pay for it, most importantly, if you qualify into their program. Now, when you become disabled, there's 3 brackets of age disability that I've created. There's being disabled from birth all the way to 25. There is being disabled when you're 26 through 59 and a half. And then there's when you become disabled and you're 59 and a half plus. Now, why did I create these 3 age brackets? It's because these are also the 3 buckets that would fall into Social Security. So if you're born disabled or you become disabled before you're 25, you can qualify for SSI. This is where they give you, they being the government, gives you a blank check, not really a blank check. It's, if you're in California, it's around $1,100 to $1,200 a month, but it changes state by state. So look into your state, and they just give it to you because you're disabled. That simple. It also comes with Medicare. SSDI can fall into that age range of 25 through 59 and a half. SSDI works very similarly to regular Social Security, where you've had to work a certain amount of time in years to earn the right to potentially qualify and pull from it. This is the bucket that I found myself in, and this is the bucket that the majority of people are going to find yourself in if you become disabled between that age of 26 and 59 and a half. If you qualify for SSDI, how it works is you apply for it. It's a 6-month process. It's tedious and it's long, but you should get it, especially if you're blind. You get it actually potentially faster. But any disability, you should be able to get that SSDI that you worked for if you do qualify for it. For me, I had to put in 10 years of work when I was able-bodied for me to qualify, for me to apply for SSDI, permanent disability. And how the benefits works is you can make $1,500 or so at the time of this recording for disabilities. And if you're blind, $2,600 a month. I believe it's actually before taxes. This is gross. And you will also receive whatever money you're awarded per month. So let's just say I receive $2,000 and then I can make $2,600 on top of that because I'm blind. Now, what happens if I make more money? For every $1 you make above that $2,600 limit, you lose $2 in benefits of that $2,000 to the point where if you make too much money over, you just don't get any dollars. Now, you would still get Medicare, which is also a good benefit, but this limit obviously discourages people from making over $2,600 if they're blind and $1,500 or $1,600 if you have a different disability. The DOR falls into this bucket too, because a DOR, you qualify if you're just trying to find a job. Most people, obviously, who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s are probably still working. So, especially if you were working and you became disabled, you want to connect with the DOR, and they're going to help you keep your job if you're lucky enough to be able to return to your job after your disability, and or look for a new job that may better fit your disability. Because if you have a disability like mine, which is a disability that takes away my functionality in my eyes slowly over time, you want to be able to work a job that's as least stressful on the part of your body that's disabled, and again, in my case, blindness, as possible. That is something to consider. The DOR will help you with that, and they will most importantly pay for you for all the stuff. And what can the DOR help you with? They can help you with buying new equipment. Like I said, they bought me my phone. They bought my cane that I've showed on the show before. They've bought my desktop, my laptop. They've bought health-related items like my glasses overlays or my spare glasses that I was wearing before I took them off for the show. They will pay for anything as long as they can use the excuse of it's needed for you to work. It could potentially qualify for you to get for free, within reason, of course. The DOR will also pay for any software that you may use to help you do your job. So again, I use JAWS in Fusion. This software allows me to magnify the computer to a crazy level beyond what Microsoft defaults to. And there's various other functionalities that Fusion and JAWS allows. A blind person with no vision or anybody who just closes their eyes can use the computer. There's many other softwares that are out there, but the point is that the DOR will pay for these softwares. They pay for other softwares too that you just may need for work. So like they paid 1 year for my Microsoft 365. They paid for Zoom because they know I use that for my work. They'll pay for expenses as long as it pertains to work. So that's how the DOR can support you if you're of a working age. But if you're 59 and a half or older and you don't want to work, you just go on regular Social Security and you would just get that as if you're just somebody who's that age naturally. So that's why I created those buckets. So as a refresher, number one, you're going to want to get diagnosed, learn more about your disability, and learn more about your resources. If you're blind, you're going to want to go to the Lighthouse of the Blind. You're going to want to go to the DOR. These two organizations for sure are going to connect you to other places, resources, and more importantly, organizations, so you can learn more about resources. I Googled the crap out of resources for my area. Initially, I couldn't find much. It's more important to connect with people who offer the resources or know about the resources or refer to resources, because a lot of this stuff is not easy to find on your Googles or easy to find on your Chat GPTs. So the third thing I recommend people do is you absolutely want to connect and network and build your friends list. Shout out to MySpace. Friends list of people who share a disability or hopefully share the exact same disability that you have found yourself having. So for me, I have joined the Silicon Valley chapter of the Blind. I've also been to numerous National Federation of the Blind, San Francisco chapter meetings. I have networked and affiliated with myself with the blind community, and they are a very supportive community, and they have offered so much wisdom and knowledge on how to navigate this thing that I find myself in, which is blindness. And one thing I want to expand upon is there is stuff that I promise you, you will not consider, even when you're disabled, you will not consider how to do it until you talk to somebody. This is especially true if you have a disability that is gradually getting worse over time. So you're going to have to learn to adjust. It's better to talk to somebody who's had to do it already and they've done it already than for you to figure out what and how to do it on your own. Because one, you may not be able to figure out everything on your own. And more importantly, two, you just won't think about it. There's just stuff that you just flat out won't think about as you're adjusting. So this is a financial show. So of course, we're going to focus on how to help make sure that you have money coming in and you're financially stable. But of course, there's the mental health aspect. Of course, there's the dietary aspect. Of course, there's the physical aspect and the health aspect as well. But you're going to want to talk to your OGs, your mentors, your elders who have gone through this. It may be a little bit different because of the age we're in, or the timing that you face this in, but talking to my OGs and my elders, it's more or less the same how you go through things. So this is what you're going to find yourself in when you have a disability. I can't express how many things that you have to just shift when you become disabled. So it's everything. Like, let's talk about blindness. Like, I have to learn how to dress myself if I'm blind. Well, I can't see colors that clearly because my blindness is so impacted that light dictates if I can see something or not. So this shirt that I currently have on, I would have to put this against a light to notice that this is an olive green color, because dark colors like navy blue, gray, black, they all blend in to me. So I can't really tell unless I bring the shirt or the clothing item into the light, and then I have a better idea. And even then, that's not good enough. Sometimes I have to take a picture of it and zoom in on it, and then I can actually tell what color the shirt is. So that's like one little thing I deal with, but there's multiple things, and it, of course, differs depending on the disability you have. Blind people are famous for using bumper dots, so we put dots on common things that we use to know specifically what button, usually it's a button, you put it on and kind of what that button does just by feeling it, because blind people, we really depend on things that are tactile. As the world is evolving, we're moving closer and closer to a world that is not very tactile. Your phone is touchscreen now. It's not like the good old days where everything's at a good old button. That's another thing you're going to have to find out. You're going to have to find out how to cook. How are you going to walk around? So you're going to need your cane training for that. How are you going to cross the street? Shout out to Chris, who trained me with the cane so I can learn how to cross streets and hear for cars and really leverage my quote unquote super hearing that I have obtained once I've lost my vision. There is so much stuff. I mean, I can make a whole dedicated episode to just stuff that you have to adapt to when you become blind. But I'm not going to keep going on and on about it. The point is that you want to talk and network with people, because they're going to just tell you this is what you need to do. This is how you need to navigate. This is what you need to consider. So those are some of the things that you should be doing. So before I continue, I want to remind you guys, this is Financial State of Minds, and I am your host, Darrin Harvey, and you're tuned in currently to 96.9 FM, whether you're streaming it on the website, whether you're listening to it on Spotify or favorite streaming platform. I want to thank you again for staying tuned in, and we're going to keep going back to the episode. Other things to discuss and to consider if and when you go blind or you have a disability. So going back to the importance of that emergency fund, all these things I talk about, whether it's insurances or whether it's your Social Security disabilities or your SSIs, these are going to take time to kick in. State disability, that is the fastest. That takes about 30 to 60 days. Long-term disability, about the same amount of time if it comes from a state, if your state even offers it. Shout out to California. They do offer it. SSDI, Social Security, SSI, those are going to take 6 months to kick in. So this is why you need that emergency fund, so that you can float by until you get your money. The insurances, they can kick in faster than 30 days, but there's still some paperwork and stuff that you got to do. So there's still a time frame before you get a check from them. So again, it's important to have that emergency fund so you can start paying for things, and more importantly, so you don't have to worry about it. If you live with somebody, if you have a partner, how are they going to adapt? How are they going to navigate with you? Because hopefully you have a partner that you're living with that is supportive and is going to want to help you navigate. They may want to take some time off to help you navigate and stuff like that, especially if it's a disability where you're going to require a caregiver. Definitely have your discussion with a partner, just in case this happens to me, this is what I would want you to do, or how you, the partner, should assist me when that happens. This can be tied to the conversation you have when you create your healthcare directive, but you should have that conversation. Now, if you live by yourself, one thing to consider is how you're going to live. If you, for example, you're blind, it's going to be pretty difficult to live on your own initially. I know a lot of blind people who live by themselves now, but if you live by yourself and you become blind or you have a disability, you may want to consider moving into a facility that specializes with blind people or specializes with disabled people. These facilities are very similar to senior citizens facilities, what I call the lowest tier ones. The lowest tier facilities for senior citizens are the ones where they're basically apartment complexes. It's like a normal apartment complex, but there's specially trained staff or there's extra staff there to assist the elderly with certain things. It can be meal preparation. It could be stuff needing to get fixed on a more regular basis, stuff that needs to get cleaned up on a regular basis. Essentially, people who are on site ready to assist you, but you only need them once in a while. There are facilities like that for the disabled community. There are facilities like that for the blind community. You may want to look into those and learn about those and consider moving in, especially initially, as you've learned to adapt to this new world of blindness or whatever disability you have. There are so many resources out there. The DOR, the San Francisco Lighthouse of the Blind, they're going to connect you to some resources and services. These services have helped me with software, hardware, and tools. These services also can help you with support groups and stuff like that. You can meet these people and ask these questions on how do you navigate. And they're usually pretty open. They allow you to bring your partner or friends or family members so they can be a part of that conversation too. I've learned a lot. I'm a part of these support groups. Shout out to John Glass. He is the facilitator at a support group I attend to in Palo Alto, and he's been great. He's given me a lot of advice and good stuff. There's generally some type of resource center in your county that you live in. It's going to be different depending on the county you live in. For me, I have access to VISTA centers, and these VISTA centers are especially geared for the low vision and the blind, and they're able to get me equipment. They're able to conduct low vision eye doctor appointments, because once you become low vision, you no longer go to a normal eye doctor, you go to a specialist, and they're paid for, and they're usually paid for by grants and grants that are given to them by the state. And as long as you're a resident there, you should qualify them. There are obviously transportation resources. There's paratransit. You get a discount as a handicapped person if you use pretty much any public transportation. I get a discount when I use Caltrain. I get a discount when you use BART. I believe you get a discount when you're on the bus. I'm not sure about that. I'm not taking the bus. And then, of course, there's paratransit, like I mentioned before. There's other resources, too. Oh, I forgot this one. If you become disabled, get yourself a handicap placard. Absolutely. Get yourself a handicap placard. Get yourself the travel one that hangs in your car. And if you own a car, whether you could operate it or not, or you're with a partner, register that card so you have the handicap plates as well. And this will allow you to park, have that VIP access. And parking, do the same thing when you're flying in the airport, because you'll be able to line up first for the airport. Make sure you have your handicap stuff available as well. So one thing I am passionate about is what life is going to look like for you in the workforce, in the job world, when you have a disability. Hint, it's not going to be easy. It's not easy when you're able-bodied, and it's only harder when you are disabled, unfortunately. So, again, speaking from my experience, it has been difficult to retain a job, even with all the assistance and knowledge and the skill sets that I have. It's been difficult to retain a traditional W-2 job once I've been disabled, especially in the last, I would say, 3 to 4 years. It's been really difficult. So here's some quick kind of training on how to get a job when you're disabled. So first thing is the mindset. Mindset is this: no one's going to give you a job just because you're disabled. That's just what it is. And it is on you to convince your employer to hire you and to educate them on what they need to do to accommodate you. It is on you, the employee, the potential employee, the disabled person. It is not on your employer to know anything. It's not even on your employer to have things set up. This is one of the things that the DOR can do for you. When you get hired, they buy the equipment so your employer doesn't have to. Now, if your employer can, great. I actually recommend you have the employer do it. One, to see if they really can accommodate you and they're not loyal, but they're willing to assist you. But two, DOR is a government agency and they are slow. They are slow, and I'll leave it there. So if there's any way you can buy stuff on your own, whether it's through your savings or the company, you're going to want to do that. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. You're trying to get hired. So first, the application process is the same, pretty much. And then there's the hiring process. The number one thing I wanted to know is, one, do I disclose my disability to an hiring person? And two, if I choose to, when do I do it? Darrin, what's your answer? The answer is, it's up to you. I will tell you, though, what I've chosen to do. I choose to disclose my disability towards the very end of the interview process. I choose to do that because I personally believe I've experienced discrimination against me for being disabled, i.e. blind, when I choose to disclose it early on. So because of that, I choose to disclose it at the very end, typically right after I've been offered the job. A couple of reasons I choose to do that. The first one, because I've faced discrimination. The second one is you want to prove to your hiring manager and to prove to everybody who's interviewed you that you can do the job the same way that an able-bodied person can do it, or a person with vision, in my case, can do it. You want to be able to prove that you can do it, no problem. Going through that interview without disclosing your disability will show that. You want to show your hiring manager that you don't need their assistance if possible. If that is your reality, you really don't need their assistance, you don't want to use it unless you absolutely have to. You want to show them that. It's not that there's nothing wrong on asking for help and showing the assistance, but you want to try to delay it as long as possible, in my experience. So let's say you're going through this ridiculously challenging current job market at this time of this recording, and you land yourself a job and you get hired. You let them know that you're disabled and they're okay with that. Now your job is to teach your employer, your hiring manager, your boss, how they need to work around you when it comes to your disability. So again, this comes from learning from your elders, your OGs. You have no experience, or from me, I guess, if I'm your OG or your elder at this point. You need to educate them on what you need. So I'll give you my example. So for me, if it's a job that requires me to come into the office, I would let them know, hey, I can do it, but you would need to accommodate me in these ways. Usually it's lighting. If that's too much and it's easier, I would prefer if I can work from home for these reasons. And that might be a reason why you couldn't be able to work from home at a job, even if the job doesn't offer work from home. One thing I want to make clear, companies only have to accommodate within reason and within their scope and their ability of the company. So if it's a small company that has like 3 employees and you're asking them to buy computers and all this equipment, And they don't have the money. They're not breaking any laws by not accommodating you at all. The general rule of thumb is you want to go with a company that is already set up or has the resources so they can accommodate you. So if there's a job that you're applying for that is remote, go for the remote position. Or maybe it's a hybrid. They want you to be in the office 3 days a week. Tell them because of your disability, you prefer to stay at home all 5 days, or maybe you come into the office 1 day a week. Their business is already set up for remote work, so they should be able to accommodate you in that way. So that's how accommodation looks like. Now you're at the job. One thing that I've learned from personal experience is the company doesn't have to adjust their criteria for your work performance based off your disability. They do not have to adjust work performance goals or anything based off your disability. Please understand that when you're looking for work and when you take on a job. I thought that the companies I work for would lessen my workload or maybe give me more time or stuff like that. They should do that, but they don't have to do that. You have to be able to do the job as is within reasonable accommodations. So think about all this before you get a job, and also understand that your boss may or may not know how to deal with a person who is blind, who is disabled, who is mentally, out there. They probably won't. I'll just be frank. They probably won't know how to deal with you unless, again, it's a big company that has experience with disabled people or currently has disabled employees. You're going to tend to have a better experience with those companies compared to small companies. And that's generally what I recommend. If you're going to get a job with a big company. They're going to have the experience, they're going to have the resources, and they're going to have the structure to support you better than a smaller business or a smaller company. Or go get a job with somebody who is disabled. Go get a job with a company that's owned by disabled people or partners with them. They tend to understand as well. I know these jobs are few and far between, but this is the challenge we are going to have when you're disabled. So think about that. Please, please, please look into, and maybe I'll make an episode about this, all your rights that you have as a disabled person in the workplace. Fun fact, people, the number one most discriminated population of people in the workforce is the disabled community. They're discriminated against the most, even more than women. So it's very common for that to happen. Please understand your rights. Please also understand that there's a lot of gray area, and that's how a lot of these employers are able to get away with the discrimination, is because there's a lot of gray area. I've experienced a lot of gray area discrimination. Some of it pretty flagrant, but it was all gray, so I really couldn't sue, and this is coming straight from a family friend of mine who gave me some advice on a situation that I was in. So learn your rights, practice, talk to a mentor, talk to somebody who's been down this road, but most importantly, put yourself in a situation where you can work a job that can allow you to do something that is supportive of your disability. So if you're blind, you probably don't want to do a job where you're video editing like I'm doing. It's pretty stupid of me, but yeah, I video edit everything. You might want to do a job that's more customer service based on the phone. Maybe you're doing a call center job or something like that. Or if you can't walk or it's hard for you to walk, you're probably not going to want to work at Target or Walmart or a retail job, or you're probably not going to want to work for Amazon. Do a job that's going to support your disability. All right, so that's kind of a basic guide on what to do when it comes to applying and dealing with the workforce when you are disabled. So as we wind down on this episode, just a summary to prepare yourself. If you're still able-bodied and you want to prepare yourself, You want to look into insurances. You want to make sure you have that 6 months plus emergency fund, and you want to make sure that you have a good credit profile so that just in case you get a disability and that income stops coming in, you do not have to worry about paying bills when you're laid up in a hospital or you're trying to figure out how to navigate going blind or navigate missing a limb or navigate the disability that you find yourself in. The second thing you do is you want to find a hub that will connect you to different resources, connect to the DOR, otherwise known as the Department of Rehabilitation. And 3, you want to network and at least have a bare minimum of one person who can help guide and assist you, like a mentor, an OG, or an elder that can help you along the way. You want at least one, but I encourage as many as you possibly can. And I encourage you getting active in those organizations so you can learn more and get the support. You want to think about where you're going to live if you do live by yourself, or how your living environment is going to change once you find yourself with a disability, whether it's just simply adding bumper dots or making adjustments to your house, like I've added extra lighting to my closet, just different things you want to do to help yourself navigate your household if you find yourself with a disability. And 5, we talked about stuff to consider and how to navigate the workplace once you become disabled, whether you're returning to your workplace or, more importantly, when you are applying for a new job as a disabled person, especially if it's your first rodeo. If you find yourself disabled, especially blindness, and you want to talk to me personally about it, please just DM me. Please reach out to me on financialstateofminds.com. You can write a letter. You can write a message. You can call me directly. I'm more than happy to give you some one-on-one time and guide you more directly on your situation. Again, I'm blind, so I know that situation better than any other ones. I do have friends that are deaf. I do have friends who have other disabilities, and it's what I've laid out is pretty similar, but the resources are going to be different. The places are going to be different, but what they offer should all be relatively the same. They're all going to offer support groups. They're all going to offer ways of getting around in transportation. They're all going to offer support in living expenses. They're all going to offer education on how to navigate. I literally took a class on how to cook while you're blind, and they literally teach you how to cut as a blind person. They teach you how to cook meat with a thermometer that speaks the temperature out loud. I've met blind chefs. The point of this episode is to provide a guide, and hopefully this guide is there to empower you to live your best life if you find yourself in my shoes or many others. 1 billion people on this planet are disabled. Many of us are out there. We are out there, and society still continues to not really do a good job of like teaching society how to navigate and how to deal with us. So this is my piece of giving into the community, and this is how you deal with us. This is how you deal with us. And just know that you pretty much can do whatever, more or less, especially nowadays with technology, when you have a disability. You can take care of yourself. You can have a job. You can have a normal life, whatever that looks like when you have a disability. It is very possible, but know that this journey is more challenging. It is harder. It will be stressful. It will be trying. I am not going to pretend that it's not. It is. It can be brutally difficult. And one thing I'll share personally is, especially lately, the physical disability is not the most challenging part of this lifestyle. It's the mental game. It's keeping your head on straight, keeping yourself in a positive mindset, keeping yourself with a hopeful mindset, keeping your willpower and your desires high and up. That is the challenge. That is the grand challenge that all of us share in life, whether you're disabled or not, whether you're able-bodied or not. This is something that we all share, but it is intensified once you become disabled, if that's your fate. So that was a quick hour-long episode. This has been your guide. What to do if you find yourself disabled and how to prepare for yourself if you find yourself disabled. I hope everybody has found this episode very informative, educational, But more importantly, if you find yourself in this situation, you have a guide now. You have something that I did not have. Feel free to reach out to me. This has been Darrin Harvey. This is Blinding McFly, the Money Counselor. You've been listening to KGPC 96.9 FM, and this is Financial State of Minds, the show where I help you get to that bag, manage that bag, and grow that bag as best as possible as we talk about financial literacy and anything related to the bag. I'm out of here. Peace and